Okay. Oral presentation 1. Myths and modernity, or myths reused in modern forms. Choose any cultural work that draws inspiration from Greek or Roman mythology. Select either one or two myths that the work reimagines and explain the following. Number 1. What an earlier Greek or Roman version of the myth says. Provide a brief overview of the original myth as it appears in classical sources. Number 2. What differs in the modern retelling. Identify key differences between the original myth and the modern version. Number 3. Why this difference matters. Discuss how these changes affect the meaning of the story in its modern context. What new messages or themes does the modern retelling convey? How does it reflect contemporary values or issues? So, from the suggested cultural works, I chose Percy and the Olympians mostly because I have it on hand. My 15-year-old daughter went crazy for Percy Jackson at one point. She's read all the books. I have not. I read book 1 and 2, I believe. I think I started on 3, but I didn't finish. Um, so I'm, you know, I went ahead and picked those. Um, within Percy Jackson, there are several retelling of myths. You have Medusa, other, myths retold, reimagined for the modern viewpoint. But one that I can remember in detail is in the first book, and it is Minotaur. The myth of the original myth of the Minotaur was Poseidon gifted King Minos of Crete a bull. It was described as a magnificent bull, and he was supposed to sacrifice the bull, and he did not. And because he did not, um, Poseidon cursed the king by making his wife fall in love with the bull. His wife fell in love with the bull, and they conceived a child. Um, and that child was the Minotaur. Uh, King Minos was not happy about this. So he had the labyrinth constructed underneath the palace. He placed the bull there. Well, no, not the bull. He placed the Minotaur there, the half bull, half humanoid, underneath the palace in the labyrinth. And that's where he lived out the rest of his days. After a war with the Athens, Poseidon forced, not Poseidon, King Minos forced the Athens to sacrifice 7 young men and 7 young women every 9 years to uh, the Minotaur. It was kind of like a game. He would place them there. It was a maze. They would try to get out. They weren't successful um, until Theseus volunteered to go into the labyrinth. He was adamant on not just getting out of out of the labyrinth, but successfully killing the Minotaur. And that's what he did. He went in, he took care of it, and he was successful. It almost makes me kind of sad for the Minotaur. He didn't deserve that, in my opinion. He was part of a curse, so it makes me sad for him. Anyway, so that's the original story of the Minotaur. The Percy Jackson um more modern telling of the Minotaur in book 1, The Lightning Thief. Um Percy and his mother were on the way to camp. What is the name of the camp? They were on the way to what? Half Camp Half Blood, and they are attacked by the Minotaur. The difference is now we are in the current times, so there is no palace with a labyrinth. These are modern times, so the Minotaur is actually hunting demigods, which Percy doesn't know he is one yet. But um, he unfortunately seemingly kills Percy's mother, and Percy defeated him by breaking one of his horns and stabbing him with it. So there's not really in my opinion, a big difference. The Minotaur dies in the myth and the new story with Percy. But the story is adapted for um a more modern take. So that it'd be better absorbed by a modern audience, in my opinion. The differences are, of course, the hero. In the old story, Theseus is the hero. He kills the he defeats the Minotaur. In the current story, Percy Jackson defeats the Minotaur. The demigod Percy Jackson, he doesn't know yet. Of course, the setting. In the original story, the setting is the labyrinth that is underneath the palace. In this story, the setting is on the way to camp. The purpose. I think in the original story, well, it may not be so different. I think in both stories, the central theme is bravery. In the original story, Theseus is brave. He's very brave. He volunteers to go into the lion's den, in so many words, um, to defeat the Minotaur. And in the case of Percy Jackson, he um is approached by the Minotaur because he's a demigod, and the Minotaur is trying to kill him, and he shows bravery by defeating it. He wasn't able to protect his mother at that point, to his knowledge, but he did eventually defeat the Minotaur. Um, the differences matter because the story has to be adapted to today's time so that it will be better received by the current audience. It has to be better received by today's current audience, but in my opinion, it keeps the theme of the original story. Bravery, um, a sense of belonging, a sense of doing what you need to do to protect those around you. Um, but in my opinion, I'm still sad for the Minotaur. Well, no, in the original myth, I'm kind of, sad for the Minotaur. In the more recent one, not so much because he's actively um hunting demigods. So his purpose was to get rid of Percy before Percy even knew he was a demigod. And I think the setup of the more current story is more so an introduction, uh, an introduction for Percy into the mythological world, which is very exciting. I'm going to go back and read the rest of the books. Thank you.